Have you ever stopped to think that everything you are experiencing at this exact moment, the device you are using, the environment around you, even the challenges you face in life, might be fundamentally different from what it appears to be? What if all the reality you perceive was, in fact, a holographic projection of your own mind? This is not just a fascinating philosophical idea, but the core of the revolutionary theory proposed by Michael Talbot that is transforming our understanding of human consciousness. Michael Talbot, in his visionary work, The Holographic Universe, presented one of the most radical reinterpretations of reality ever proposed. A vision that combines cutting-edge quantum physics with advanced neuroscience to reveal that your brain is not merely a passive observer of the world, but an active, creative participant in constructing the reality you experience. I will share with you 3 extraordinary discoveries that Talbot revealed about the mind's power to literally transform reality. The third discovery is so profound that many traditional scientists still reluctantly accept it publicly, despite the growing evidence supporting it. To truly understand the revolutionary power of these discoveries, we first need to understand what Talbot really meant by holographic universe. Inspired by the works of physicist David Bohm and neuroscientist Carl Pribram, Talbot proposed that the universe functions exactly like a hologram, a 3-dimensional image created by patterns of light interference. In a common hologram, if you break the holographic plate into pieces, each fragment, no matter how small, will contain the complete image, albeit with less resolution. Similarly, Talbot suggested that every part of the universe contains, encoded within it, the totality of information in the cosmos. Even more surprisingly, he proposed that our brains function as holographic processors, not just observing reality, but actively participating in its creation. This proposition may seem abstract at first glance, but the implications are deeply practical and revolutionary for your daily life. According to this view, reality is not something fixed and independent that exists out there. It is a dynamic and malleable process that continuously responds to the patterns of your consciousness. The first extraordinary discovery that Talbot revealed is what researchers now call the principle of brain coherence. Advanced EEG experiments and brain imaging have confirmed that when your brain generates coherent waves, when billions of neurons fire in harmonic synchronization, it is not just processing reality more efficiently, it is literally strengthening certain neural circuits while weakening others. This measurable biophysical process essentially tunes your brain to certain frequencies of experience, just like tuning a radio to a specific station. When you consistently focus your attention on certain thoughts, emotions, or desired outcomes, you literally reconfigure your brain's neural circuits to resonate more strongly with the corresponding frequencies in the larger quantum holographic field. Studies conducted at Princeton University have demonstrated that experienced meditators can consciously alter their brain patterns to states of deep coherence. The most fascinating part? During these states, statistically significant anomalies were observed in nearby random electronic systems. In other words, when these individuals achieved states of extreme brain coherence, the very randomness in the physical world around them seemed to respond. Talbot's second revolutionary discovery involves what he called non-locality of consciousness. Based on the principles of quantum entanglement, the phenomenon where particles that have been connected remain instantly correlated regardless of distance, Talbot proposed that our consciousness operates in a similar way. In a truly holographic universe, separation is illusory. Your consciousness is not confined to your brain or even your body. It exists in a state of non-local connection with the larger holographic field. This explains seemingly mysterious phenomena such as precognitive intuition, experiences of knowing something without any direct sensory input, and even those strange moments when you think of someone seconds before that person calls. Rigorous experiments conducted by the HeartMath Institute have documented the phenomenon they call non-local intuition, the demonstrable ability of the human body to respond to future events before they occur. In controlled studies, participants exhibited measurable changes in heart and brain activity seconds before being exposed to emotionally stimulating images, even when these images were randomly selected by a computer after the physiological readings. These are not isolated cases or scientific curiosities. They represent growing evidence that your consciousness operates beyond conventional limitations of space and time. You are not just passively perceiving reality. You are engaged in an ongoing dialogue with a holographic field of information that transcends normal space-time barriers. Now, the third and most revolutionary discovery of Talbot, what he called the conscious observer effect. This is the revelation that many traditional scientists still reluctantly fully embrace, despite the growing evidence base that supports it. At the most fundamental level of reality, quantum physicists have discovered something extraordinary. Subatomic particles do not exist in defined states until they are observed. They exist as probability clouds, multiple simultaneous possibilities, until a measurement collapses the wave function into a specific reality. What Talbot proposed, based on these discoveries, was truly revolutionary. He suggested that this observer effect is not limited to the subatomic world, but scales to our macroscopic reality. In other words, your consciousness is not just observing a pre-existing reality. It is actively participating in determining which potential reality materializes from the infinite possibilities existing in the holographic field. This is not a purely theoretical hypothesis. Pioneering experiments conducted by researchers like Dean Radin at the Institute of Noetic Sciences have consistently demonstrated that conscious human intention can influence the behavior of physical systems, from random number generators to double-slit experiments, in statistically significant ways that defy conventional explanations. Quantum physicist John Wheeler, who worked with Einstein and Bohr, proposed the concept of a participatory universe, suggesting that we literally live in a reality that responds to conscious observation. In his famous delayed choice experiment, he demonstrated that the decision of how to observe a photon apparently influences the past behavior of that photon, as if reality remained fluid until the moment of observation. But how can you apply these extraordinary discoveries to consciously transform your own reality? Here are 3 powerful techniques based directly on Talbot's holographic principles. The first technique is neural priming. This practice is based directly on the principle of brain coherence that Talbot identified. To implement it, you need to dedicate 10 minutes every day to consciously prime your neural circuits for the reality you wish to experience. Sit in a quiet space and close your eyes. Breathe deeply for 1 minute to calm your nervous system. Now, visualize with as much sensory detail as possible the situation or condition you want to manifest. Do not just see it, feel it with every sense. If it is financial prosperity, feel the emotional security. See the precise numbers in your accounts. Imagine the physical sensation of working in a job you love or driving the car you have always wanted. The key to this technique is total multisensory engagement. Your brain does not clearly distinguish between a vividly imagined experience and a physical real experience. Both create similar neural patterns. By repeatedly priming your neural circuits with this detailed multi-sensory experience, you are literally restructuring your brain to resonate with that frequency of reality in the holographic field. A 45-year-old participant, Sophia, used this technique to overcome a chronic autoimmune condition that her doctors insisted was incurable. For 90 days, she dedicated herself to neural priming, imagining every cell in her body functioning in perfect harmony. After 3 months, her inflammatory markers had reduced by 60%, and many symptoms completely disappeared. Her doctors, unable to explain the dramatic improvement, simply called it a spontaneous remission. The second technique is timeline navigation. This approach directly explores Talbot's discovery about the non-locality of consciousness. If consciousness is not limited by conventional linear time, then you can access and influence different potential timelines. To practice timeline navigation, start by identifying a situation in your life where you are experiencing a persistent blockage or challenge. Close your eyes and imagine yourself literally floating above your current timeline, looking down at it from an elevated perspective. Visualize it as a path or river below you. Now, allow your consciousness to explore other potential timelines where different choices or circumstances led to different outcomes. Do not force this. Simply maintain the intention to perceive these alternative possibilities. When you find a timeline where the situation resolved positively, Examine it in detail. What choices, events, or perspectives are different in that timeline? Finally, mentally merge that alternative timeline with your current timeline, feeling them blend together. This is not just a visualization exercise. It is a practical application of the non-locality of consciousness that Talbot described. You are literally accessing the holographic field of possibilities and bringing a more favorable configuration into your present experience. Carlos, a 38-year-old entrepreneur, used this technique when his company was on the verge of bankruptcy during an economic crisis. During his timeline navigation sessions, he perceived an alternative version where his company had pivoted to a different service model. He implemented this change in the real world, and within 60 days, his company not only survived, but began growing exponentially in a seemingly contracting market. The third and most powerful technique is conscious wave collapse, based directly on the conscious observer effect that Talbot identified. This practice recognizes your role as an active participant in determining which potential reality manifests from the holographic field. To implement this technique, identify a specific area of your life where you desire significant transformation. Now, take a sheet of paper and write down all the possible versions of reality that could exist related to this situation. Do not censor or judge. Simply list all possibilities, from the most challenging to the most extraordinarily positive. This process is not merely a brainstorming exercise. You are consciously mapping the quantum possibility space related to your situation. Each scenario you enumerate represents a potential configuration of reality in the holographic field. After listing the possibilities, close your eyes and enter a deep meditative state. Visualize each possible reality as a wave rippling in the ocean of quantum potentiality. Now, direct your conscious attention exclusively to the version of reality you wish to experience. Feel your state of observation consciously collapsing the wave function, selecting this specific possibility from infinite possibilities. The key to this technique is the quality of your conscious attention. It is not about forcing or struggling. It is about clear, focused, intentional observation that selects a specific reality from the field of all possibilities. Anna, a 52-year-old artist, used conscious wave collapse to transform her stagnant, creative career. After decades of rejection by major galleries, she practiced this technique daily for 4 months. Without any logical explanation or industry contacts, she received an unexpected email from one of the country's most prestigious galleries, expressing interest in her work. Within a year, her works were being exhibited internationally. These 3 techniques are not metaphorical exercises or simple positive psychology tools. They are practical applications of Talbot's profound discoveries about the holographic nature of reality, discoveries that are now being validated by cutting-edge science. It is important to recognize that these approaches require consistent practice. Just like learning to play an instrument or mastering a new language, you are essentially training your consciousness to interact with reality in a more sophisticated way. Results may not be immediate, but for those who persist, the transformations can be genuinely extraordinary. An important warning: as you begin to explore these techniques, you may face what Talbot called field resistance, a period where reality seems to resist change or even intensify the patterns you are trying to transform. This is not a sign of failure. In fact, it often indicates that deeply rooted patterns are beginning to reorganize. Think of it as reconfiguring a complex system. Things can often seem chaotic during the transition, even as they move toward a higher order. If you encounter this resistance, it is crucial to maintain your practice with even more dedication and clarity. It is also essential to approach these techniques with an understanding of ethical responsibility. In a truly holographic universe, where everything is interconnected, your conscious choices affect the larger field in many ways. The most effective practitioners do not use these techniques merely for narrow personal gain, but to manifest realities that elevate the greater good. A 5-year study following advanced practitioners of these techniques discovered something fascinating. Those who directed their practice to benefit only themselves experienced impressive initial results that often diminished over time. In contrast, those who applied these techniques with higher intentions of benefiting both themselves and others tended to experience deeper and more sustainable transformations. As Talbot wrote, In a holographic universe, even the smallest act of kindness or insight can literally transform the whole. Ultimately, Michael Talbot's work invites us to a profoundly different understanding of who we are and the power we have to shape reality. We are not powerless observers of a fixed material world, but active participants in a dynamic and responsive cosmos. As more people begin to understand and apply these extraordinary discoveries, we are possibly approaching what Talbot called a tipping point in collective consciousness, a moment when our shared understanding of reality will shift as fundamentally as when we discovered the Earth was not flat. The reality you experience is not fixed or predetermined. It is a dynamic process that responds to the quality and focus of your consciousness. Through Talbot's revolutionary discoveries and the techniques based on them, you have the power not just to influence your reality, but to consciously participate in its creation. The true question is not whether you can change your reality with the power of your mind, but how deeply you are willing to embrace this power and use it to create the life and world you truly want to experience.